Okay. All right, I believe we're live. Thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Jackie and I'm with Military Saves. And today we're going to be talking all about holiday spending. And this year has been a doozy. So this is a very, very exciting and fun topic that I'm looking forward to discussing with you today. But first, I want to remind you that at Military Saves, we're a nonprofit organization that encourages the entire military community to save money, to eliminate debt, and to build wealth. And you can do that by taking our Savers Pledge, and I'll be sure to drop a link on that for you. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our very fabulous guest today. We have with us Jessica Gisele, and I'm going to read you a little bit of her bio. She's very, very impressive. So Jessica is a veteran of the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force Reserves. She's an entertainment professional. She's the producer of the Protecting Courage podcast and the author of the brand new book, Dangerously Debt Free. Jessica is also a mother of 4, and she is joining us today all the way from Wiesbaden, Germany, where her military family is currently stationed. So Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Jackie. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. How are you enjoying Wiesbaden?
I love it here. I can't say enough good things about where I live and the community. It's so beautiful in Germany. So we're going to enjoy the time that we have here. I love it so far.
Oh, that's wonderful. That was my favorite duty station there. It was the best 3 years. So I'm really glad that you're enjoying it as well. So
Yeah, I think about you every time I see that commissary view where, you see the Wiesbaden city laid around like outside. I always think of you. I'm like, Jackie pointed that out to me when I got here.
well, thank you. Well, it's amazing. You're my first international guest, so we're thrilled to have you today. So, why don't we go ahead and jump right on into it with holiday spending? So, as you're aware, and as our viewers are aware, this has been a particularly difficult year where we've had to cancel travel, trips, our kids have had a rough road. And I think a lot of people might be thinking, this year I'm just going to go crazy. I'm going to splurge. My kids deserve it. I deserve it. I'm treating myself. So, with that in mind, as someone who has experienced debt and has overcome it, who's written about it, military families might be feeling pressured right now to show their families a really big Christmas. So, what would you advise when it comes to spending and, in particular, overspending for the holiday season?
That is an excellent question. So I think it's really important, first of all, yes, this has been a really hard year for all of us. And I know that I don't want to sound flippant about other people's finances, but it's not going to make next year any easier if you go broke this year, right? And it's already been challenging enough. I know some people have been out of work or they've been struggling financially in a lot of different ways. So my biggest piece of advice is instead of spending money on things, this year, myself and my husband and a lot of my friends and family are focusing on experiences. So, like just for example, we all decided that we're going to take a day when everybody's on Christmas break to sit around in our pajamas. Like I even convinced them like we can all wear, fuzzy socks together and get in blankets, and we're going to watch movies and do. I saw this fantastic thing on Pinterest, I think it was a hot cocoa charcuterie board where you put like the marshmallows and the cinnamon sticks and all the things, and you make hot cocoa. Really inexpensive, really fun experience. My kids can help me. We could even home make the marshmallows if we were really feeling like crafty, right? So I think for me personally, keeping my finances always in the forefront of my mind when it comes to things like this, I think experiences would really go a long way, like creating opportunities to spend really great quality time with the kids. And, being real, I have 4 kids. I bought them things. They play with it for a day, and then it ends up in a pile on the floor, or the batteries are taken out because it makes too much noise and it gets on my nerves. And I don't know what happened to the batteries, kids. It was too loud. So I just think buying them stuff is not going to be as important for us as it would be if we were, just to create really beautiful experiences for them.
I agree. That's wonderful advice because you're right. As a mom myself too, I've had things that my kids, they think they're going to want to play with. They'll talk about a certain character or something, and then all the family gets them a toy of that character, and then they're just kind of over it in the next week, or it's cheap and it's broken. So there's
Mhm.
no longevity, and you just think, now I've got buyer's remorse from these
Yeah.
lousy
Yeah.
toys. So experience, that's a really good
Yeah.
opportunity for everyone.
Yeah. And it's like, I understand that you can't really go places. A lot of us can't really go anywhere. Like I can't speak for everywhere, but here in Germany, there are some limitations on travel, even locally. So one of the things that we're doing is we're identifying ways that we can sort of bring the holidays inside our little apartment. And we're going to decorate inside in ways that we never have before. We're going to put lights everywhere. We're going to put up, but we haven't put up our tree yet. My kids were like, no, mom, we're going to do Thanksgiving first. Like, you're not going to have us putting up a tree yet. But we will be putting up our tree and just really creating a beautiful inside experience for specifically Christmas, because we celebrate Christmas. And I think whatever holiday you celebrate over this season, you could bring stuff inside and just create a really beautiful environment, as opposed to, feeling that pressure to spend money and go places and do a whole bunch of stuff.
That's really good advice because I know a lot of us have been home and we may have been home for months now. So being able to kind of reinvent that space and add some sort of new energy to it, I think is a really great idea. So you
Yeah,
keep everyone safe at home, you have the experience, it's something special, and it's not something that's you're going to regret or you've spent too
right,
much money on.
right, exactly.
Excellent tip. So what do you think about those who say, you know what, I've had a tough year. I deserve this. Because I'll admit, in the past, back when I used to go out Christmas shopping, which I haven't done in a while, it's mostly online. I would buy stuff for myself, like, ooh, that's cute, and I'm here. And I'm gonna try to not do that so much online for myself this year. But do you have any advice for someone who thinks, I need to treat myself to something? Like, does it have to be something of monetary value, or like what ideas might you have?
So one thing that I've been doing for myself lately is, so in the book, I wrote the book, Dangerously Debt Free, and I talk about when I was going through the experience of feeling like my things made me more worthy. And I would buy stuff even if I knew I couldn't afford it, really, to make myself feel more valuable. I am all about, again, kind of going with the theme I started of creating experiences for myself. So whenever I feel like I need to splurge on something, I can't say this for everybody, but I get just as much thrill from buying something crazy expensive when I find that item for a discount, right? So I like, and I blame my mother for this. My mother has like, she got me thrift store shopping early. She's the one, she'll go to the clearance rack and find things. So if I feel like I need to treat myself with something, I budget for it. It's I make space in my budget for myself. I do it without shame. I do it without feeling like if I can't have X, then I don't deserve Y type of thing. Like I make sure that I make that space for myself. And I used to only do it at the holidays, but I feel like self-care in that way, like if you need to get something for yourself, that needs to be a constant thing. Don't wait till the holidays. Tomorrow is not promised. So build that into your budget monthly, weekly. If you get paid weekly, like build it into yourself. All the money experts will say pay yourself first. Maybe that means setting aside a little money, $5 here, $10 there, so you can get yourself something you really want. As far as splurging for the holidays, I know some folks are not going to like what I'm about to say, but uh, I wait for those sales. I wait, like, for example, the PS5 just came out. People were online for hours and hours clamoring over this PS5. And I was telling my coworkers, my husband's a gamer, so he was like, why would you buy the first generation, the first release of the PS5? The previous releases all had issues and you had to wait for like downloadable content and all these things. So I make myself wait for the sale. I wait for the really great deals. I love Cyber Monday. It's like one of my all-time favorite shopping days because I've gotten things for like 80% off that, like really good deals. And then there's a whole bunch of websites too that you can find that will save money, like coupon sites, saving sites, all kinds of people. I know there's another military spouse Crystal Spell, she has a site that has military discounts on it. Like I look for all of that. So if I'm going to spend the time and money on a thing, it's going to be exactly what I want. And if I can spend less money on it, I'm all about it. And then I feel like I got my thing and I saved money. It's a win-win.
Perfect. I can relate so well because my mom taught me to always go to the back of the store first, hit that clearance rack. And I'm one of those when someone says, "Oh, I like your dress or your shoes," I'm like, "Oh, I got it on sale or I got it for
That's
this price."
me.
And I'm trying to learn now to just say thank you, but I get so excited. So what I hear you saying is that you're not being impulsive. You've got a little delayed gratification. You're willing to save up to wait for it for when it gets marked down or is on sale or another generation. And that's great because you're not just doing it emotionally, you're planning. And I think that having that strategy is a key.
Right. And the other part of that too, just to be fair to, because some folks like if they do slip up, if the credit card comes out and they're like, man, I really shouldn't spend that money. Be gentle with yourself, give yourself a little bit of grace and recognize whatever you're feeling emotionally as you're doing the spending. What are you really trying to fill? What void is really there? Is it going to be filled with stuff? Probably not. So give yourself a little bit of grace, recognize when you're having those feelings, and then set yourself up to deal with it. I used to spend impulsively because I was trying to fill an emotional void. So I dealt with the void and now I don't need to spend. I've actually become a little bit of a minimalist to where I'm getting rid of stuff all the time. So it's just important to check in with yourself emotionally when you're spending like that.
You're right. And that's with any time, with anything, if you're like overeating, for example, because you're trying to fill that void, you're just trying to feel better for the moment. And then you might feel worse down the road because of it, unfortunately, or beat yourself up. So I like that you look at the emotional component. And I think this year is going to be tough for some people because, like I said, I know our military, they've got steady jobs, which is great, but a lot of spouses may have lost their jobs because of restrictions, or they had to stay home to do virtual schooling with kids. So there's a lot that's going on, and people may feel guilty that they feel like they can't give their kids a big Christmas because they took a financial hit this year.
Right.
So what would you say to those folks who feel worse because they can't provide what they normally would do?
So the very first thing that popped into my head when you said that is to talk to your kids, right? Like I know that a lot of kids, my kids included, I'm not special, and I told you I have four. When kids see things and they want them, I am teaching my children the value of, delayed gratification. I do spoil my kids when I can, but that spoiling usually is like, hey, let's, save up and go do this fun activity. And that way we're all looking forward to it together. It's not usually super impulsive. Like, and with four kids, we got to plan everything we do. And a military family, like we can't just on the fly anyway. For people who are feeling guilty or they feel some type of way because they wanted to buy a whole bunch of things for their kids this year, I would check in with the kids. If they're real small, they're not going to be much help. But older kids, like my youngest is 11. So I'm super real with her. Like, hey, what activities do you want to do that would make you feel good this holiday season? She's really into like a YouTuber called Mariah Elizabeth who does all these crafts. So sometimes we'll like watch Mariah Elizabeth videos together on YouTube and like we're never as good. We're like a failed it type of thing with Mariah Elizabeth crafts, but we try, we work together. We draw stuff together, or she'll draw something and show it to me on my iPad. And, we're spending that time together. If this year has taught me anything, is that there's so much more value in time than ever with money. And we can't get that time back. And, she's only going to be 11 once. And so her, especially because she's the baby, I spent a lot of time just checking in with her to be like, you know, you don't need a whole bunch of stuff, but let's talk about what experiences we can have together. And if you're a parent and you're feeling bad about not being able to get your kids something, my heart is with you. I've been there. I talk about in my book how really truly broke we used to be. And it's required a lot of discipline on my part because I realized that the issues, how I was spending was like emotional and mental, and I was dealing with a lot of things. So I had to take the time, like I got therapy, I started, doing things for myself to recognize those issues and overcome them. and it's a constant process. I'm not over everything yet. I still slip up. I'm not perfect. So those parents, I would say, just like I said before, give yourself some grace, um, and just recognize that this year just might have to suck a little bit more than it would, and try your best to create something beautiful out of it as best you can, because your kids are going to remember the hot cocoa charcuterie board more than they're going to remember the robot cat that my husband bought for my daughter 3 years ago that I haven't seen literally since the last duty station we were at. Like, I don't even know where the thing is, and I'm sure she broke it. So she's going to remember the hot chocolate charcuterie board more than that thing we bought her.
Perfect. I love that idea. I'm gonna have to do that. I think with my boys, with some Christmas movies, Christmas music. We've got a fireplace here, so yeah. I think what you're saying. There's a few valuable lessons because you can teach your kids about spending, about the experience of spending time with loved ones versus just material things.
Mhm.
Um, there is also the time of like, giving each other time and experiences, and having them weigh in and see what they want to do and maybe what they want to do for you. My kids love to give me breakfast in bed periodically, and for them that's a way that they're learning to give, and it's it doesn't cost a thing. So
Right.
I think
That's
that's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like next week for Thanksgiving, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving here in Germany. So, and in years past, I felt this strong obligation, even if I wouldn't admit it, to make a whole big, huge spread by myself. Like it was a whole ordeal. And if you're from the South, you already know, like people wouldn't get breakfast. You starve until dinner, and there's this huge turkey and all these sides, and it's a lot of work. And then by the time dinner happened, I wasn't even able to enjoy it because I had spent the whole previous 24 hours cooking. This year I'm doing a little differently. My kids are all older, they can all cook, thank God. So they're going to be in the kitchen with me. Everybody's contributing a dish, real dishes, not like open the rolls and put them on a plate. Like, no, they're going to cook, and we're going to enjoy a meal that we all put in work. And I think it's going to be a different experience than previous Thanksgivings where it was just me yelling at people and hitting them with my spoon to get out of my kitchen. Like,
I
so
can so relate to this. Exactly. And they'll remember this as well too. More than the dinner, they'll remember being in the kitchen.
Mhm.
So you talk a little bit about your debt journey, and I myself, I had student loan debt and credit card debt, and it constantly weighed on me. Like it was always draining my energy. If I ever went out for fun, like to the movies, I think probably should have been paying. I should have paid that off on the credit card versus doing something fun for myself. And it's like I could only eat so much spaghetti, but that debt was just draining not just my finances, but my self-esteem, my like anytime I tried to do something fun, I was like, ooh, but this money should go to the debt. And it was just difficult. And I fortunately overcame it as well. And I'm really glad that's behind me. I know, oh, it's amazing how much money you suddenly have when you're not paying bill after bill every single month. But do you mind sharing a little bit more about your debt journey and how you were able to overcome it?
Sure. The first part, which is the part everybody hates, is I had to write it all down, everything, every single penny that was leaving our bank account. I had to check it. I had to check myself because there were things I was paying for that we didn't need. And at the time when the debt was the worst, I was running my company. I was running Gisele, but we just didn't have enough money coming in from, I was paying out more in some cases than I was bringing in. And my husband was still in the military at the time. So it was just really stressful. So the first part was to write it all down and truly check myself and be like, okay, do you really need this subscription to this whatever thing for your business? Like, is it actually making you any money, or is it just taking your money? Right. And I did that with everything. And then I also had to deal with the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual reasons why I was spending the way that I was. Like, who was I trying to prove something to? What void was I trying to fill? And that required me to get very real about my mental health, my physical health, because, it's a snowball, right? Like, you buy things so you feel better about yourself, and then you feel bad because you spent the money, so then you eat, and then you're not working out, and then it's just this whole cycle. So I had to really address each thing. The biggest thing that I think I learned from it is that it's just as valuable to make small payments. Just like with my kids and their grades, I tell them, I would rather you do this assignment and fail it true, like fail it because you didn't earn an A, right? And get some grade, get a 50 instead of a 0, right? It's the same with debt. You want to pay something, even if you can only pay $5 a month or a week or whatever, pay it down. Just start. It'll start to build quickly. I literally just last week paid off a debt that it took me 2 years to pay off. It was several $1,000s, and making that last payment was like, oh my gosh, I felt so good. And I was like diligent with it. I tried as hard as I could to stick with it every single month. And, you know, throughout the journey, I learned that a lot of the stuff that I thought about money was wrong to begin with. So I had to wipe the slate clean and start from scratch. And that's really, really hard to do. So if you're watching this, replaying this, and you're going through that, please know that I understand. Jackie understands, and just stick with it. I promise you, you'll get that feeling that I paid off that last bit of money feeling. And ooh, I celebrated by sleeping.
You can finally rest. It is the best feeling of the world. Like weight just lifts off of you. And then I felt like I could finally start planning for the future. And it's wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. And I think, like you said, get to the bottom of why. And I could see where a lot of military spouses would fall into that trap, because you're constantly moving, you're redoing your house, you're away from family, you might miss friends from your last duty station. And so you're looking for something to help you feel better. It can happen to any of us. So I think that's wonderful. If you get to that why and figure out what do you really, really need, you're going to find it's not material.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So.
And that's a hard pill to swallow, honestly, because like I like nice things, you know, I like having stuff, but I think the lesson that I learned more is that, like, with my kids especially, they're aging so fast. And you know, my oldest two are in college. That's insane to think about. And they still they came to Germany with us, thank goodness, because we get this time with them, but it's not going to be that long before they're out living their own lives. And this time for me right now is precious, because, you know, I joke about wanting to be an empty nester, but the truth is that, you know, this time right now is just really valuable to me, more valuable than anything I could spend money on. So
that's incredible. So I guess to sum up some of the excellent points you made is have a plan. Don't just go in and spend. Look for things on sale, shop ahead, go to military discount sites.
yes.
Like Retail Salute is the one I know you mentioned from
Yes.
Crystal. Yes.
Thank you. I can't remember the name. Thank you.
You're welcome. And talk to your kids about money. You know, you can talk to them about saving their money and maybe not spending impulsively, and make sure they feel a good sense of self-worth without needing the latest and greatest toy or video game or what that might be. So I think that's wonderful. Experiences over stuff, especially if it's something that you're going to go drop off before your next PCS and it's not even going to come with you. That could be a thing in the store. Like, am I going to have this with me in 3 years? If not, you know, maybe not, skip it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and for those of you who do feel like you need to go overboard or overcompensate, you know, go easy on yourself, be forgiving, because January is going to roll around before you know it. We'll be in a new year, and you don't want to have to pay too much for the holidays this year. If you can have those experiences and the time and the memories, that's going to be worth more than anything you can buy at the store.
Yep.
Oh, excellent. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for your time today. And for those of you interested in learning more, you can visit her website at jgisele.com. I'm going to include a link for that as well. You can also, again, take the Military Saves Pledge. We would love to have you be a part of our community as we pay down debt, as we've just talked about, save money and build wealth. So thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you for tuning in. Jessica, I hope you have a wonderful evening in Germany.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So good to see you.
You too. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.